So first of all, I am super happy to see that so many have decided to join us for this digital meetup today. We are really excited and happy that we will get to spend this hour with you. And what we are going to focus on today is to tell you a bit about how we here at Storytel has learned and adapted in this constantly changing world. And we are very happy that we have the opportunity and the honor of hosting this event together with Women in Tech. It's really nice. And yes, so first of all, my name is Emma, and what I'm going to focus on today is to tell you how we adapted in this changing world. And my main focus will be on how we created a conference for all storytellers over the world, totally digital, and created a full new concept. So that is something I'm really looking forward to share with you. And then you will also meet my colleague, Josephine.
Hello, so I'm Josephine, and I will talk after Emma about how we work with experimentation and testing at Storytel.
Yes, and at the end of this time that we have together, we will try to answer as many questions as we can. So as you can see, Zoom has a feature called Q&A, so just write your questions there and we will take a look at them at the end of this hour that we have together. So, as I said, my name is Emma, and I've been working here at Storytel for 2 years. And actually, when I joined, I started working here as a tech recruiter and a part of the HR team. And when I was taking part in the Women in Tech conference at the beginning of this year, I was also there as a tech recruiter representing Storytel. But actually since then, I've switched roles and now I work as a crew coach. So as a crew coach, it's basically a mix between being a scrum master and a team lead. And I belong to our social team. So I work with a lot of cool people there, mostly developers, and we create the social features in our app, such as sharing a book on Instagram, which I encourage you all to do. And I actually think that says a lot about Storytel and the culture, because if you have the interest and if you want to try something new and learn something new, it's very open to do so, and something that I personally really value. And going over to Storytel, so who are we and what are we doing? The vision that we have and what we all are working on together is to make the world a more empathetic place with great stories to be shared and enjoyed by anyone, anywhere, and anytime. And I would say that's something you can feel in the whole culture, because everyone it's like a big team working towards the same vision. And we have been around since 2005. So we are now 15 years old. But I would say it's the past years that we have grown super rapidly. And a lot of things are happening in the organization, and we have gotten a lot of new colleagues. So today we are a bit more than 550 people in the whole company. And in our services, where we have audiobooks and ebooks, we every day handle more than 1.2 million customers and users. And maybe some of you out there are also using the story, or are maybe you're avid book lovers, as most of us here are. And we have today launched in more than 20 different markets. So we are spread out in many places of the world. And here at Storytel, I get to work with people from all over the world. We have many people relocating to different offices, but also local offices in many places where we launched. So we are more than 43 different nationalities within the company. And as I talked a bit about, we are spread out and launched in different places of the world. So you find us in India, Turkey, the Netherlands, and Norway, for example, which is really fun. It's really cool to be a part of that global feeling, according to me. And going into something darker, I would say, the pandemic hit us all. Almost 1 year ago now, it started coming to the world, and I think it had an impact on all of us in different ways. And it has been challenges for all of us, both as individuals, but also as organizations. And as I showed you, we are spread out in different parts of the world. So obviously it also impacted us differently, depending on where you live and which life you live, kind of. And pretty soon after the news came, we decided that, okay, everyone will start working from home. And we also have the privilege of working in a way that we actually can work from home. So here are some pictures from Storyteller's home offices from one of the meetups where we gathered a lot of pictures that we had pretty recently while we started working from home. And we decided pretty soon that, okay, things didn't turn out the way we thought this year, but we decided that, okay, we're not gonna change our goals or what we plan to do, but we might need to change how we do things. And we might need to do things differently in order to succeed and to keep our employees happy. So some of the things that we started doing was that we started having virtual leadership trainings. And I think that we all can agree that great leadership has been more important now than ever. We also had leadership trainings for all our employees focusing on self-leadership, which I would say it's a big part of the Storytel culture. And a lot of our initiatives are employee-driven, but also that could have been even more important now than ever. We also started having frequent all-hands meetings where the whole company virtually gathered together. Yes, and we created an employee newsletter as well. And talking about self-leadership, we had a lot of different initiatives coming from our employees, such as virtual afterworks, having fika together, playing games together, online games, or knitting together. And we had virtual yoga and virtual workouts with the whole company. And seeing your colleagues working out from their home office, when you sit at home alone, it is a really nice feeling. And I think it creates a lot of feeling that we're all in this together. And we also sending home office furniture and pool service, which is something that we worked frequently with even before this, but I would say we used it even more now because finding out how are our employees feeling and how is it going and what can we do to improve the situation that we're in, which can also be very individual from person to person, of course. And monitoring well-being. I touched upon the more physical well-being as virtual workouts, but we also started working with an external partner for offering anonymous calls to a therapist, for example, since we all know that mental well-being is as important and many people has been impacted by the situation. And the thing I want to focus on today is turning live events into digital. And then I'm talking about one special event that is something that everyone here at Storytel, I would say, are looking forward to every year. And that's the yearly conference. So this is from 2019, where everyone that is working within Storytel come from all over the world. We gather in Stockholm. We spend several days together with performances, workshops, mingling, hanging out. And I think this is such a big thing and such a big, important event from the whole culture, because this is where we meet and where everyone get together once a year. And this usually takes time in September. And I would say that our really cool and amazing event team that planned this conference, they saw pretty early this year that, okay, we're not going to be able to do a conference in the traditional way this year. So instead, they took the decision to do something totally new. And we wouldn't want to cancel the conference. Instead, we wanted to do something totally new. So this shouldn't feel like a digital copy of what we originally was planning to do. Instead, we wanted to create first choice of entertainment. and the community where we came together and sharing an experience together. So we wanted to make a wow experience. And as I said, we have an amazing team working with the planning of the conference. And in July, they took the decision to sign with a TV production company. Because instead of the original conference, we had a TV show for 3 days as our conference. And we already knew that, okay, there will be challenges. So first of all, creating a feeling where you're sitting at home by your screen as you do every day. That is a challenge, but it's also something that is very important. We had limited amount of time to come up with the content and create this. And technical challenges, which can be very, it needs to work. If you sit at home, if the technique doesn't work, the conference wouldn't be a success. And create engagement, which is the aim of our yearly conference. And the different time zones. As I showed you earlier, we are spread out in many places in the world. So, as I said, we created a TV show, and I want to show you a small summary of how it went.
Welcome to this year's Storytel conference. And this is what we ended up with.
We are in the way to make audio grow more and more.
Storytel is obviously the most known brand.
Actually, there are some interesting trends that just gave a new light on books and reading.
Large publishers started to produce finally their audio contents in Italy as well.
Om hem te verrassen met een extreme home office makeover.
Are you sitting in your new office now?
I am. I hope the seat.
It's beautiful.
We will go to audio storytelling as the majority medium because it is so natural.
Just like in the movies, you have to be always guiding the listener's emotion.
Use your intelligent human brain to treat your inner child and manage it.
How you can use machine learning and automate things and work so much smarter in terms of how you can predict things.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you for having me, and have a great rest of the day.
Life is great, and I'm looking forward to having these 2 workshops.
First thing we had to build from scratch is the brand awareness.
Storytel is a content organization. We all use the word content an awful lot.
Hey, we're all about stories.
They have given me enough confidence. The team was so supportive.
All companies need to reduce their carbon footprint, including Storytel.
And guys, I miss you all out there.
We probably have the biggest Zoom meeting. It might be some kind of record. 500 people mingling in the same meeting.
The energy coming together after sitting at home for so long.
Thank you. Ow.
Yes, so there you saw a summary of the 3 days that we spent together virtually. And what did our colleagues or the storytellers, what did they think after this? And these are some of the comments that we saw in the survey afterwards. And it was awesome, more climate neutral. Someone loved the format, but also missed the casual mingle. And someone who actually talked to even more new colleagues than they did in the original format. And looking at these numbers, the 2019 was the regular conference, and from a scale 1 to 100, people thought that the overall experience was 87, which is super high. And now it's 81, which is also super high. And really nice numbers, and also really nice to see that people enjoy this. And looking at also what storytellers thought? What were the success factors with the conference, and how did it become this experience? So the morning live show. So a TV show is, the original format is made for you to watch through a screen. And in the studio, we had our CEO Jonas as a TV host, and then we had other people, a panel, people being interviewed, and things going on the whole time. And as you were watching this live show, we also interacted all the time through a video chat or through a chat. So people were saying good morning, asking questions, and there was a lot of engagement through the whole days. And co-creation as well. As I mentioned, we had this creative and amazing team putting this together, but also all our local countries, different teams and different people within the organization sharing their home, sharing their favorite food recipe, or doing a home makeover. So that also created a feeling that we're all doing this together. And we had some external interviews, some really inspiring authors and cool people that brought some new perspectives to the whole company and was very much appreciated. And digital hangouts. And I touched upon the challenges before going into the video and talked about the technique. And actually I got to experience this myself because I was hosting what we call an energizer. So everyone going into the same meeting, and then we were gonna go out into breakout rooms to spend time and mingling with new colleagues. And for some reason, it didn't work. So we were more than 500 people in the same meeting. And first, of course, I was a bit nervous because it's a bit scary when technique just doesn't do what it's supposed to. But being in that meeting and people starting saying like, hey, please share your favorite books in this chat. And okay, so this is my cat showing a cute picture. And I think that everyone was just getting together. And for myself, as well as for other colleagues that I talked to afterwards, this failure is actually one of the experiences people also remember, because it was an amazing feeling being there and people were being so engaged. And it was personal. As you saw, there was some laughs, some crying, and people showing their home. Someone did a home makeover at their colleague's house, and also showing different parts of all offices and parts of the world that we're located in. And that really created a feeling that, okay, we're in the same room, even though we virtually wasn't, or we virtually were in the same room, but in real life, we were all sitting at home. And it is a really nice experience to have been a part of this. And I think we all learned also from the service and what we saw, what our employees told us afterwards, that a virtual conference can really create engagement. And it can make even more voices heard. Being in the original conference, 500 people in one room, it's an amazing feeling, but it takes a lot for someone to raise a hand and ask a question or come with some input or a joke. And that was possible in this format. And it can allow also even more interactivity. So what we all learned is that a virtual conference actually can become a wow experience. And I'm really happy that I get the chance to take part of it. And I also hope that what I've told you today can hopefully inspire someone else, no matter if it's a conference or a team meeting that you're doing. And if you have any questions for me, which I'm hoping for, you can send them in the Q&A here and I will answer after my colleague has taken over. But first of all, thank you so much for listening. It's been really nice talking in front of you. So now I'm handing over to Josephine.
Thank you. Yes, so I will talk more about how we work with experimentation and testing. And I will go through a little bit of what it is, like what it means for us with experimentation and why we think it's important. And then finally, how we implement these practices in our organization. And then we'll take all the questions in the end together with Emma's question. So my role is Global Digital Growth Manager. And I work with data-driven growth marketing, A/B testing, and experimentation here at Storytel. Yes, so Why do we work with this? Well, basically, the umbrella goal, or why we're doing this, is to improve our user experience, to improve our service, to stay up to date. And then there are different ways of doing this. And you have the little, I would say, broader way of working, which is experimentation. And that would be the action or process of trying out new ideas, methods, or activities to improve something. And then we have on the other side, which is more maybe smaller optimizations, you have A/B testing, which is a method of comparing two versions of maybe a web page, an app, digital marketing asset against each other to determine which one that performs the best. And to start to explain a little bit of why we think that this is important, I want to start with a story. So this is Disney, one of the biggest companies in the world. And a few years back, they were launching a new platform, a product for teenagers and kids to access specific content. And everything went really well with the launch until they realized some quite odd behavior in the password field. So they were seeing this very long password, something that they hadn't seen before. And the developers were digging into why this could happen. And they landed at this form, which is a very normal form that most companies use when you're supposed to register. So it says that password must contain at least 6 characters. But imagine being a child or a teenager having to write your password here. Can you think of what they would write? So this is what they wrote. Well, basically, they were adding all their favorite Disney characters into the password field. And why I'm telling you this is because that even though you've done something a lot of times, you launched a lot of products, you can sometimes forget who you're launching your product or idea to. Here is a park architect that has launched or designed a park. It's very clear. The idea is that you just follow your path and take left or right, depending on where you're going. But is that really what the users are doing? Usually not. So they wouldn't want to take 2 extra meters to go to where they're going. And then we have this hotel sign, which is at a hotel lobby. And if you were to go to the room 113, what way would you take? So you could take this way or this way. I mean, it can be confusing, even though it seems so simple when you have your idea in your head. So why am I telling you this? Well, basically to say that there is one way of looking at things, which is how we think that things work at the companies, but then also how our users think that things work. And then we have the middle ground, which is what we will agree on. So what did we do to bridge this gap between our thoughts and our customers? Well, it's very common to start asking the customers what they want. And these services are questionnaires are very normal at the website, for example. But if you think about it, like if you answer this one, do you really answer properly, like how your thoughts are, or do you just want the discount that you were promised in the end? So basically, the problem that could be with asking the customers what they want is that they don't always say what they think and maybe don't do what they say. And asking is a step in the right direction, but it might not show the full truth. And it's not like the customers would be lying. And I think we can all recognize that sometimes we just don't know how our behavior will be. So instead of just looking at ideas and asking customers, we introduced testing and measurement of actual behavior before launching a product or an improvement. So this is how it would work. You would have an idea and you would combine it with data, and then you have something that you would like to launch. But before you launch it, you add it into experimentation and testing to make sure that it actually goes in the direction that you want. And when you have the desired result, you can actually take an action and launch it. And then that would go back as learning, and you will get better intuition, better ideas, and more data to work with going forward. This is some examples of what we work with when it comes to testing. So it can be website conversion, digital marketing campaigns, and also new product releases. So what we want to, or what I'm trying to say here is that it's a process. And over time, many tests and many right implementations can lead to big gains. So it can be a compounded effect, even though you think that you're doing small changes. So this is from an article that I read that I find quite interesting. So Microsoft has a well-established experimentation engine. But if you look at their ideas and what they're launching, how many of these tests do you think succeeds or are proven right? You can just think for yourself. It's actually 33%. So it's only a third, and the rest, either they fail or they make it neither better or worse. So not running tests doesn't mean that we fail less. It would just mean that we're not aware of all the times that we're actually missing the mark. So we realize this, why it's so important with experimentation and testing, but that's one thing. Then you also have to work with this within the organization, and that can be tricky. So it's very common to build an experimentation program, or what we call it internally, experimentation engine. And this is something that you can do by following these steps. So these are like 4 key steps. They're very common to use when you want to build this kind of structure or engine, and I'll take you through them. So first, you need to gather the right resources. You need to have someone with a business mindset from marketing that understand the importance of testing to identify these strategic opportunities to where you should actually test. And then, of course, data science, which is more deep expertise when it comes to testing. And engineering and design for managing tools and implementing the ideas that you actually want to launch. And then it's very important, of course, to understand the goal. So what are the strategic opportunities? Like, where should you test? Where is it a good practice? And where are the key metrics that you're looking to impact to always stay focused on the goal that you're having? And then you can have a different structure for this experimentation personnel. And these are the 3 most used ones. Usually you start with a centralized model, which is one group working with this. Or you can have a decentralized model, and that's more distributed experts in the different teams working with it. And then finally, the center of excellence, which is more of a combination, and that's what we're trying to work towards a little bit. And this is what Microsoft also had or have. And then you need to commit to the journey. So it doesn't change overnight if you want to work more with experimentation. And the most important step is really to get started, to get some groundwork, implement the basic tracking and so on, and then just start testing. And after you've done that and have some learnings, you can inspire the organization, you can grow the efforts that you have. And then finally, you'll come to a stage where you've grown so much. So maybe you need to go back a little bit and look at the tools that you started with and improve them. And finally, you scale the program to more parts of the organization, more markets. And I would say that this is somewhere where we are right now. And then finally, automation, where you let the robots do most of the work and us, the people, do the thinking. So we would still, of course, generate ideas, but it's good to leave the automation and analyzing to more automated processes. Yes, so you can be doing great with these processes and structure, but there is one thing that we've realized that you can't really make it without, and that is the mindset. So in the end, it's actually all about being curious, daring to try new things, come up with new ideas to launch and test, but at the same time being humble. So if you have an idea, you shouldn't just launch it directly all the time. Sometimes maybe you need to test it first, as I showed in the beginning. And I think that this also reflects the culture that we have. I think a lot of us are very curious, but we're still very humble with each other and the things that we want to launch before we actually do it. So that's it for that part of the presentation. Yeah.
I saw that I had some questions, so do you want me to start answering? And maybe you can just, if people want to send you questions.
Yes, that's perfect. So we'll switch a little bit and start with the questions. Thank you.
Yes, and if you want to ask Josephine anything, just send those as well, and she can go ahead after me. So I got some really nice questions. One was regarding if it's possible to do something similar as the conference with a smaller team and on a smaller budget, which I think is a really great question. And I would say yes. Actually, yesterday we had a team day in my team here at Storytel, also from home, and we didn't really have a budget. We were offering lunch, but otherwise we used what we already had. So for example, we were using Miro as a tool for collaborating and working together, even though we were sitting at home. And we were also using breakout rooms and had some games, such as everyone sharing the story about their hometown, which is a great way of getting to know each other and learn from each other. And then we also had some workshops focusing more on our goals for the team and so on. But it didn't cost much, and we were around 20 people. So I think it's definitely, you can do so. And in our team day, I think the success once again was that we were so many people involved in arranging it, which also made everyone feel engaged and involved from the beginning. So taking help from others and make them feel responsible and make them feel that they can contribute, that I think is a great success factor, no matter how many people it involves. So I hope that was some answer and can give some inspiration. Yeah, maybe I also got a question if we're going to send the presentation out afterwards. And I'm really happy that you want to take part of our information even afterwards. And I got to know from Josephine, who you see on camera, that this will be sent out as a movie to the attendees after this. So I'm happy to hear that you want to watch it again. And also, I got a question on how we are onboarding people during this period, which I think is a great question, because actually we have onboarded more than 150 colleagues during this time. And that had definitely, I think onboarding is crucial and difficult as it is. And that has been 100% online. And we also onboarded people in more than 15 different markets. So I think from my experience, when we onboarded someone into our team, it has been making sure that it's structured, having structured meetings that you get to meet as many people as possible, and not only focus on learning the work-related things, but also invite people so they get to know each other or get to know the new team members and create the psychological safe feeling as soon as possible. So I think that has been important. And then we also have been sending home swag bags, as we call it, which every new storyteller gets when they join us. Yeah, but thanks for great. What topics did you discuss in Energizer breakout sessions? Yeah, so obviously we are a book lover organization, so that is the standard topic. And I actually have a long list after the conference to, maybe I didn't read the question very well, but what we discussed in these Energizers or breakout sessions were, first of all, favorite books. So I personally have a long list still to work on after the conference, and everyone really shared the passion for stories here. And then since we have so many people with different backgrounds, that is also something that we talked about. So where are you living? How is your hometown? And what are you working with? So also meeting people who works with totally different things. Someone coming as a developer or someone working with our content or working towards authors. That's really something that we talked about. And we had, I think, some more topics, but actually the time wasn't enough, which I think is a good sign. Yes, I'm thinking I can hand over to Josephine. I also got some really nice questions.
Yes, okay, so I get a lot of questions about the tools that we use. So yeah, both. So first, like, what tool are you using for A/B testing? And I would say that since we're testing in many different parts of the organization, it can be close to the product, it could be within digital marketing. So we have different tools for different purposes. And then we align in our experimentation engine. But for A/B testing on the website, for example, we use Google Optimize. And then, for example, digital marketing, we also use the existing platform, the biggest ones such as Facebook and Google and so on. But I mean, that's also always the tricky part, how to handle all these different tools. And we're looking into right now, as I said earlier, like in the journey that we're in, we're now looking into like, how can we improve our tools and processes when we're growing our efforts and the company. So now we'll have to make a little retake on how we are combining this. Yes. Yeah, that's also similar. What's your marketing tech stack? We have a lot of tools, we have a lot of data, and we are quite Google heavy users, I would say, in general. So a combination of those services. And let me see, it was one question as well, like if I have any examples when an A/B test has really surprised you. And that's a good question. I feel like that's happening all the time, because when you work with this, you feel like you learn so much. So you think that you would actually know what the test result would give you. So sometimes you can be so sure that your idea will prove right and be better than the baseline, but actually it's a lot of times that it's not. I know that we used some best practice when it comes to social proof to optimize conversions, to really ensure our users what other users are thinking, and it did not go as expected. So there are so many actually examples of that, and that's why we do this. We try to test as much as possible because there's so many times where the results are actually different. Okay, they're popping in some new questions. Wow, they're so long. I need to. Yeah, some examples. Not sure how many examples we can share, but let's say that if you visit our website, you'll probably not see the same thing all the time. So there you can get a hint of what we're testing. And then about cultural differences. So that's actually a very good question, like how we adapt to cultural differences, local versus global, and when we're launching new things. And that's also always quite difficult, but I would say that we have a very good collaboration between our global teams that are experts in certain areas, and then we have our local teams that are of course experts at that market, and then we try to combine our efforts. So if we have an idea, we always sync it with each other, and we try to work as close together as possible before we launch these things, to always take into consideration the expert view, the global view, to make sure that it works from a global perspective, but then also to make sure that we have the local view considered into that as well. And that goes into testing. And that's why we have this center of excellence structure a little bit more. So we don't want to have it all centralized. We want everyone to be a part of it, to be a part of our culture a little bit more. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Should I take one in between?
Yes, I don't know what, yes. Oh yeah, we have a lot of time. So yeah,
we can
now
take a
you
few
can
questions more.
Yeah.
And I get one question: how many engineers or how many developers we have within the company? And as I said, we are more than 500 people in the whole company and around 150 people within our tech department. And then, except for the tech department, we also have our intelligence team with data analysts and so on. So it is, I would say we are a tech organization with a lot of book lovers. And I also got a question, which I think is a really great question, how we will continue going forward. Was this a one-time happening that we had a digital conference, or what will happen for the future? And that I don't know, but I think that already now after the conference, I see how we do things as this team day has been based a lot on the learnings that we have from the conference. And I think that also that we are, as a company, we have very high goals when it comes to sustainability, and people are very engaged in sustainability as well. So I definitely see that not for us, just us, but for the whole, for everyone, for all companies in the future, probably digital tools will be even more important to decrease travels, for example. But I'm also very curious to see how the future will look like, and how we're gonna be digitally, and when we are gonna meet up in real life and so on. So that's a really interesting development, and we can see how it goes. Oh, I also got a question if we have an internship program at Storytel. And I can't talk for the whole organization. I'm not sure how it looks in all teams. But for example, we usually have tech summer internships and also business summer internships. So we had some students also this summer, even though it was remote, some students coming in and working on real projects that we actually work on. So they got to come in here, and for the tech interns, they learned to code. And that's actually a project that our team now is working on. So that's really cool. And we also have many people doing their master thesis with us, both in the data team and also some doing it, maybe focusing on backend development, for example. So I think that's the most common ones we have. But we have actually on our career site, we have a students site. So go and check that out, because we also we have a trainee program every year, for example. So I'm happy to hear that you're interested. So check it out. We welcome everyone here.
Maybe I can answer this one.
Yes.
So we got a question here. Maybe it's actually a combination a little bit of both of our presentations, but it says, how are you working with creating a data-driven organization all around the company, not only the typical ones like data and engineering? Would you say that this is a big, important topic for Storytel? And yes, I think it's a very important topic for Storytel. I feel like it's not at all only engineering, development, and data that are passionate about testing. I think that actually it's as much in marketing, in CRM, and in other business units. And I'm actually personally very happy about that, because I work in the intersection with all of these, like with data, with technology, with marketing, and I feel like all of us has this drive for experimenting more. And I think it comes back to what I said in the end of my presentation, that it's a lot about the mindset. So many storytellers has this curious mindset with a humbleness to it. So you are curious to improve things, you want to experiment, you want to test. And when you have an idea, you often, I see that people are like reaching out, how can we test this? How can we try this? And really, trying to ask that question. And I wouldn't say that it's actually more in the data organization. And then also, like, how do we do that? I think actually it comes from leadership and also from the employees that we hire. I mean, that's a very tricky question. Maybe I'm not the perfect person to answer, but I think it comes from all around the company, both from the leaders, both from new employees, old employees. I think it comes a little bit from that mindset that I think that most of us have. Yeah. How do you, just det här. How do you store and manage learnings at local versus global level when it comes to experimentation? And then also, like, how do you look into cultural differences when you set up A/B tests or strategies, and when it comes to implementation? For example, does it work the same in Sweden as in Indonesia, for example? I mean, I think that we're aware of those, and we're testing usually per local level, and then we take learnings, and we're trying also to deliver a test and then iterate on it. So if we're testing something in Sweden that we think would work in another country, we would usually try to test it there first, unless it's very obvious. And then when it comes to local differences, I would say that if we find something that works very well in Sweden, we wouldn't just go and implement it in Brazil, for example, just to assume that those user groups would behave in the same way. We would rather try to make a similar test on that market as well. But then sometimes when we've done a test in many different markets and we find the same results, it's very high significance level on the results as well, then we can actually take that bet and implement it globally as well. So we're definitely trying to weight the different countries' behavior before implementing something globally. Yes.
Maybe you want to answer what's your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book. I have so many, it's so difficult. I see that someone actually asked to share the list of all the employees' tips. I have no idea if we can do that, but let's see.
Yeah, we can check it out. I don't know if it's possible, but
yeah. Okay, I don't know. Should we answer more questions?
I can maybe answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also got the question if we're gonna continue working remotely, and I don't know, because I don't know like when the situation will change or how it's gonna look. I think that even if it works very well working from home, a lot of people, including myself, also miss our colleagues. But as I said before, I think the ways of working both for us and also in the whole world will be impacted by this situation. And I think that also flexibility is one of the keys for future work life, for people to feel creative and engaged in what they do. So a lot of learnings will probably come out of the situation and how it looks now. Do you have anything more?
Yeah, one thing maybe. Someone is asking if we also do qualitative tests with real users. And I just want to clarify that we're not only making these tests in the end, we're also trying to work close with the users, with other user research methods than just A/B testing, of course. But what I wanted to say in the beginning is that we want to use the combination. So it's not only that like you make a qualitative study and then you see some results and you would just go ahead and implement it. We try at least to combine those methods and maybe test it first, because maybe that insight just gave you a hypothesis, but it doesn't have to be true. So I would say that we're trying to make that a combination. But yes, we are doing qualitative tests with real users too.
Yes, I see that we are actually, people are maybe starting to drop off a little bit, which I understand. It's lunchtime and everyone is probably going back to work and so on. So maybe we can sum it up here. And so first of all, we are really happy that you wanted to share this hour with us. And I hope you got some inspiration, both regarding digital conferences as well as experimentation and testing. And feel free to connect with us. You can find us at LinkedIn. And I hope everyone gets a great day. And I hope you also, if you haven't tried the app, do it and take part of some nice stories out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Bye.